Hey guys, welcome to a review on the WZ-113. So as you can see here, I have some comparisons up. After the comparisons, we're going to jump over to Blitzhanger and look at some armor models. And I know it was suggested that I use Armor Inspector. The only problem with that is I'd have to connect my phone because I don't want to repay for parts of the app for tier 10s and stuff that I already did mobilely, and have to do it again to be able to use it on PC. So we're going to continue to use Blitzhanger for now until I decide that I want to feature my phone, I guess, because I have Reflector. But anyways, it's easier to just do this for now. So we're going to do the comparisons first between like-minded tanks, its Russian counterparts, the IS-4 and IS-7, and then the other tank that has the closest gun to what it has right now, and that would be the FV-215B Tier 10 heavy tank. So let's just throw the same equipment on each one of these. Actually, I don't think I run supercharged on this because it doesn't snipe. And then after the statistics and the armor model, we'll follow it up with some gameplay. I had a really nice ace tanker game that I will feature on the video. So let's jump into the statistics. The WZ-113 is very similar, as you can see, to the 215B. It has identical DPM. Its penetration is a little bit less. I mean, it's less than all the other heavies that we're comparing it to right now, but it's only less by like 3 to 5 millimeters of penetration, which isn't a big deal. It has the same alpha as an FV-215B. It is less than the Russian guns by honestly quite a bit. 60 and 20 can really make a difference. But luckily for this tank, it has a 7.61 rounds per minute rate of fire, and that is insane. So I love the FV-215B just because of the fact it can slaughter mediums. And the WZ-113, and I do apologize, I watch a lot of like Quickie Baby and Jingles and stuff, so I do call it a WZ just because that's how they say Z, and I will apologize if I don't say WZ-113 and I say it the other way. It's just something that I've been accustomed to for so long. So unlike the IS-4 and IS-7, it's really long reload of 11 seconds, basically, for both. I mean, 10.2 is less than 11, but still, it's quite a bit when you consider you're reloading in 7 to 8 seconds with the WZ and the FV. Now, this is the big difference that I found between the WZ and the FV-215B, and that's shell velocity. And this is the one reason why I've actually considered dropping to supercharger to get that 1,235 base shell velocity. And I mean, it does affect aim time a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to really matter, because your gun to bloom isn't really that bad. It's 0.301. And I mean, if you're used to the FV's dispersion and gun handling, the 113 does not have the dispersion and gun handling of that of a FV-215B. It is miles ahead of the IS-4 and IS-7 though, and that is one of the most important things I want to highlight, because the WZ-113 plays a lot of similar positions that you'd throw an IS-7 in my opinion, and its gun just works so much better in those areas. And I'm going to jump into, when I jump into the armor model, I'm going to explain why the WZ sometimes can't handle what the IS-7 could normally. And lastly, we'll just talk about the speed. Well, I want to touch on gun depression real quick. So 6 degrees all across the board, basically. The FV has 1 extra degree. It's hard to utilize, though, with the rear-mounted turret. But 50 kilometers an hour top speed, that is the same as an IS-7, but the one thing about an IS-7 is it's heavy. The IS-7 is a very heavy tank, as you can see, 67.73 tons compared to the WZ's 44.66 tons. So the WZ is a very light, heavy tank, and because it's so light, it gets a really nice power to weight ratio. So regardless of how your engine's lower, you're reaching this top speed a lot faster than this IS-7 would. And I found that out in some platoons. I was going faster. Well, say going faster, we still both hit 50, but I was staying ahead of my platoon partner in an IS-7 running engine boost, and I was not. And that is huge. Like the 113 is really good about getting into those positions, and that's very important for it, because if it's not in a good position, the 113 can get killed very easily, and I'm going to talk about that more with the armor profile. As you can see, the hull armor is the weakest out of all of these heavies in the comparison. By a decent amount, you're looking at 40 millimeters on the IS-4, 30 on the IS-7, and 32 on the FV-215B. The FV does have a slightly worse side armor, but, I mean, that's not as important. And then it has worse rear armor than all the others on the hull. But this is the kicker, 260 millimeters of angled turret armor. So it's similar to how the 54 has its turret, and it's basically the top of a sphere cut off. It's very well rounded, but it's 260 millimeters thick, which makes it on par with the 240 millimeter thick IS-7 turret armor. And they both have similar weak spots in the cheek, but the WZ-113 is a monster when it stays hauled down. But as you can see, that 160 millimeters of side turret armor and 80 millimeters of rear turret armor are a lot worse than the rest of its counterparts, and that can get you punished if you're not keeping your turret facing the opponents. So we'll jump over into the armor model real quick, and I want to talk about this. So when your tank is directly face on to tanks, the thing is your low profile first off. So you're going to be more than likely looking down on it a little bit. So when you look down on the tank like this, you're going to see it's less than 300 millimeters all around on this upper plate. And that's one of the hardest things about the WZ-113, especially if you get above it at all. The armor plate's really, really thin. And it gets most of its armor from this massive angling it gets. So that's really important to keep in mind, because when you use all 6 degrees of your gun depression, and you're hiding that lower plate, this is the best position to be in, where something's hiding this lower plate, and all they can see is this upper hull armor and the turret, and then you're looking at 400 plus millimeters all around, except for some weak points on the turret. And the mantlet is 400 plus normally. So it's really important to keep in mind. You never want to show this lower plate. It's very, very thin, and it's very easy to really destroy the tank when shooting at this lower plate. The other thing is I've heard from a lot of people that it's not able to side scrape at all, and I honestly disagree, because if you come out at about an angle like this, I'm not sure what this angle is, maybe 20 degrees, but you want to keep your gun just past your lower plate, because you want to make sure you can keep this hidden, and you're still looking at 300 plus millimeters across the hull armor. Even down in here, if you get past the tracks, it's 300 to 400 millimeters. And then right on your side armor, you're looking at 600 to 700 millimeters thickness. So this tank can very effectively side scrape if you want to. And unlike the FV-215B, in my opinion, it doesn't have as many weak points that you can try to shoot. Because, you have this cupola, but when this tank, because it's so low profile and it moves back and forth pretty quickly, it could just wiggle the turret, and it's really hard to hit these weak points. I don't think I get shot here. I think most of the time when they shoot me and pen, it's heat either into the cheeks or they're just going through my hull armor. And that's the biggest thing that this doesn't contend with the IS-7. If you're in just a front engagement and you're being rushed, it's really easy for them to just shred through the front hull compared to an IS-7 troll armor where you really can't do that at all. So that does it for talking about armor and stuff like that and statistics. Let's just jump over into the game and we'll see some nice gameplay. Alright, so this is a game on Mine Ruins. I am in a platoon with Tanker 070 in the WZ-113 as well. And you're going to notice here in a minute, I don't start going right away even though I load in. I do apologize, I was doing something else in Discord. Luckily I have a platoon partner that's in Discord with me telling me that, hey, we're in game. So I get back in game and I start driving up. We're going to rush towards the A position. I always mess this up. Is that A? Technically I think this is C cap. Anyways, the cap in the heavy corner. That is the one thing I'm really bad at. I never remember supremacy caps. And so we're going to rush up here. We're going to see if we can see anyone. And I'm really bored, so I'm just going to spam my shift key. And that is okay. And so Tanker blind fires. He doesn't get spotted. He lets me know that. And then we decide that we're just going to hard push. And you're going to see some gunfire here in a second. Behind me, you hear one shot. And there's going to be another one here in a second, I believe. I don't think you'll see the tracer, but you might be able to hear the gunfire in the background. He is blind firing the TD position. He's looking for a spot, and there you see it. He gets the 183 lit up. So now he decides that he wants to focus on the 183. I let him know I'm trying to shoot the 113. Once the 113 goes out of my sight line, I say, okay, I can't see anyone. I'm turning. Let's engage the 183. Tanker kind of rushes over, and he takes an 844 hit from the 183. Sadly, it kind of sucks, but I mean, it happens. He puts one more into the 183. I ram him for a little damage, and then I finish him off. So now me and Tanker are communicating, and I tell him I think we need to go around and focus on the VK and the E75, and those tanks pushing around that flank. We're losing our tanks right over there, and somehow our flute platoon died. I don't know how, but they died really early. I don't know if they got yellowed or what. But this is when I tell Tanker, leave the mouse, he can hold, let's try to save the E3. If we can save the E3, I think we'll be in a better position. We won't be in such a bad tank deficit. And so I'm going to come over this corner. I see if I could hit the 113. He's behind the hill, actually. So I'm going to start shooting the E75. Sadly, the E3 died. We found out later the E3 is a 30-something percenter, which completely explains why he stayed in spawn the entire game on Mayan Ruins. And yeah, that about sums up his story. And I'm going to try to put a heat round through the T-62's turret. I snapshot it in. It doesn't actually pen. It bounces off. I'm going to poke up here, and I'm going to just butter through the hull of the 140. The 140 has no hull armor, and it's pretty much an easy pen for me. And now I'm being very weary here. I know I can pen the cheeks with heat, and I go for that hit, but I'm also backing down at the same time. I'm afraid the 113 is going to pen me, and I don't want that to happen. I take one from the 140. I see the 62's aiming. I back out of there, making sure he misses, and then I'm going to go hull down again and put one into the 113. Now the E75 is going to show what's bad about the 113, and that's once he gets above me, he's able to farm, and that goes straight through my upper plate, no problem. Lucky for us, we get a fire. He's not able to get a second shot off. He burns and dies, and that allows us to shut down the 113 and only take a hit from the 140. Now the 62A is deciding to rush the mouse for a strange enough reason. Tanker's trying to kill the VK so the mouse can focus on the 62. I said, okay. I take a hit from the 140, and I'm like, okay, we need to make sure we kill this guy. And Tanker's like, alright, let me try to finish off the VK. And I tell him I'll finish the 140. I put one into the 140, which forces the 140 to back off, and the mouse shuts down the 62. The VK, my apologies. And so now me and Tanker are both one-shots. So the 62, all he has to do is run away from the mouse, and he can kill us both. So I tell Tanker, we need to push forward. I'll take the hit. Lucky for us, the 140 bounced off my lower plate. He didn't wait for a tracking shot, and I think that's because he had heat. He didn't want to burn it in the tracks. And so all that's left is 62 on 690 HP. A little less now. Easy double tap for two 113s. Tanker pins his shot, and we shut the game down. So this is a good example of the pros and cons of a 113. The gun's amazing. Keep it going, and you're going to put up lots of damage most of the time. And the other thing about the 113 is it's not so strong once you're not hull down anymore. And you saw that. When I was hull down, I was bouncing shots, and when they got above me, I was dying. So that is the 113 in a nutshell. I'll post the in-game battle results since they aren't shown in replays after this. And if you guys enjoyed the replay, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, thumbs down. And leave a comment in the description what you liked and what you didn't like so I know how to improve the video in the future. I can't make better content if I don't know what you guys want. So that is really important for me. If you guys leave some feedback, it's much appreciated, and hopefully I see you guys on the battlefield.